This is Big Country Legends 93.5 KBHT on what is a Super Tuesday and one of the more hotly contested primary races going on right now, which involve, of course, Senator Barack Obama and New York Senator Hillary Clinton. And we are absolutely honored to be joined by former president, two-term president here in the Mr. Bill Clinton. Mr. President, it is indeed a pleasure. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure for me, too.
Talk a little bit about what's going on here right now at this point on a very pivotal day in the presidential race.
Well, we're working hard all over Texas to get as many people out as possible, and we're dealing with some weather problems up in Ohio where I think Hillary appears to have a nice lead, but there are a lot of places where folks are having trouble getting to the polls because of bad weather. So in Texas, we're just trying to encourage everybody to go out and vote today if they didn't vote early, and then to go back to these precinct conventions, 8,000 of them all over the state that are open from 6:30 to 7:15 tonight, because 35% of the delegates in Texas will be seated tonight. So we want to encourage everybody in East Texas to vote twice. Texas is the only state in America where you can vote twice in the same election without getting in trouble for it. I think we ought to take advantage of it and turn out and make our voices heard. This is really important, and I hope that East Texas will support Hillary. She has, I think, a lot more knowledge of her out there because of her service in Arkansas all those years. She won a big victory in Oklahoma, a big victory in Tennessee, a huge margin in southern Missouri, and she got 70% of the Democratic primary vote in Arkansas because they know that she represents the kind of change America needs and that you can count on her to produce it.
Mr. President, tell me what's more difficult. Is it you actually running for president, not once but twice, but having to watch your wife go through the same grueling process and having to deal with this all over again?
Oh, this is a lot harder. I mean, in a way, it's a great deal of fun for me because I believe that she's the best presidential candidate I've had a chance to support in decades because she has both the understanding of the domestic issues like how to turn the economy around and what to do about health care and education, and she has superb national security credentials. Being on the Armed Services Committee, being the only senator asked by the Pentagon to be on a small commission to modernize the military, having the support of 30 retired generals and admirals, including 2 chairmen of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. They trust her to bring the troops home from Iraq, take care of the veterans, repair the military, and fight the Al-Qaeda where the real war on terror is. And so I'm proud to be out here helping her, and I'd be here if we weren't married because I think she's the best candidate. But on the other hand, because we are and because I love her, it's like a total anxiety attack about every 30 minutes. You know, you want everything to be just right.
Yeah,
I worry a lot more about her than I do about me.
Yeah. Well, we certainly hope that you're both holding up very well. Mr. President, you mentioned the whole Iraq issue and the troops out there. With regard to withdrawal, one of the things that hasn't really been alluded to, I don't want to use the word sidestepping, but at this point we only got a couple of moments. With regard to troop withdrawal, has the consideration of the actual cost of Senator Clinton's plans been kind of worked into this? Because it doesn't seem like it's anything that's really been discussed.
Yes, actually, she has explained exactly what you should do. That assuming the troop levels are where they are now, she would give the Pentagon a few days to come up with a plan to begin an orderly but phased withdrawal of the troops in 60 days. And it would have to be managed in terms of our responsibilities, not only to safely withdraw our troops and equipment, but also to secure the safety of the 100,000 American civilians, the ones that wanted to go, and any Iraqis that were allied with us that wanted to come. And she has also said that we would have to leave a small contingent of special forces, probably in the north, in the Kurdish area where there's no fighting, in the event the Al-Qaeda made a comeback in Iraq, because they are the enemy. They did 9/11, and they would like to wreck the Middle East peace process between the Israelis and the Palestinians, which he hopes to restart. But all of this could be done for a pittance of the $120 billion a year we are spending in Iraq. We'll also have to set aside some of that money to take care of the tens of thousands of wounded veterans who are coming home with traumatic brain injuries, which all of our soldiers are now tested for under a bill Hillary passed in the Senate. Those that have post-traumatic stress syndrome and and they need help. They need counseling or mental health services or a veterans home to live in. We didn't do these things when the Vietnam veterans came home, and it's a disgrace. We have 200,000 homeless veterans in America today, and most of them are Vietnam-era veterans who have their generation's version of post-traumatic stress syndrome. So there's no question in the first year there'll be some costs involved in this, but they're far lower than the $120 billion a year we're spending anyway. And the longer we stay on the current costs, the more long-term costs will build up because of the lifetime obligation to care for the wounded veterans.
Mr. President, how important is it to the Democrats and to the United States that a Democrat candidate, whoever it may be, get elected in November?
Well, I think it's very important to the American people because we have to change the economic direction of the country. Mm-hmm. We're not creating enough jobs. Only 5 million in this decade as compared to 22.9 when I was president. We have people going into poverty from the middle class as compared with nearly 8 million moving from the poverty into the middle class before. And incomes are flat or declining, and they increased $7,500 for the median family when I was president. So we've got to turn this economy around. We can't do it with the same economic strategy. Hillary's got a serious plan to create an independent energy economy with clean energy and with clean coal and with the kind of new technologies that will create millions of jobs everywhere in America, provide affordable health care to all Americans, and invest more in science and technology and make college affordable. And you can go on our website and on HillaryClinton.com and see how every last program is paid for down to the last dollar, because she is also determined to return to the balanced budgets we had in the 1990s. She thinks that's very important, and I agree with that. We've got to regain our economic sovereignty in this country.
He's been the only Democratic president since 1980. That's a long time, and hoping to change the fortunes of the Democratic Party. Mr. President, I really appreciate you spending some time and talking with us here on 93.5 KBHT.
I'm glad to do it, and I just would say one other thing to the folks in East Texas. You know, we had 65 people from Arkansas who spent a couple of days there this week with their own little brochure they'd presented about the ways Hillary had changed lives for people there for the better. It's a lot like East Texas. There's a lot of identity there. 70% of those people voted for her because they know she represents the kind of change you can depend on. And I hope folks will remember that, go to the polls. And, of course, I hope you'll vote for Hillary. And don't forget, in Texas you get to vote twice. You get to go to those precinct conventions tonight, and it's the only place in America you can vote twice without getting in trouble. So I hope you'll do that, too.
And since you said it twice, we really appreciate the reminder. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye. That's the former president of the United States, William Jefferson Clinton, joining us here on 93.5 KBHT on Primary Tuesday here in the state of Texas, reminding you to get out and vote, and that's definitely a good idea.